During the Second World War, American soldiers carried a pouch much like this on their belt. Inside was a powder, sulfathiazole. It was to be sprinkled on wounds in order to prevent infections. And therein lies an interesting story. And that story starts with coal tar, this ugly residue that forms when coal is heated to a high temperature. Why would anyone do that, heat coal to a high temperature? Well, before there were street lights of the electric kind, there were gas lights. And gas light was produced by heating coal that produces gases that are combustible. These would be piped into lamps, and they would be lit every night by the so-called lamp lighters. But that left behind a lot of coal tar. What to do with it? Obviously, this was there in great abundance. Well, in 1836, Friedrich Runge, a German chemist, distilled some of this coal tar and isolated a chemical that came to be called aniline. Well, aniline turned out to be extremely useful. Why? Because it could be converted into all kinds of other materials, including synthetic dyes. That was discovered accidentally in 1856 by young William Henry Perkin, who was trying to use aniline to convert it into quinine, which was sought after for treating malaria. But it wasn't working, and he threw his residues into the sink, and it turned into a brilliant purple color that came to be called mauve. Well, the starting material there was aniline. And that started the whole dye industry, which was really picked up in Germany. And this had some fascinating consequences. It turned out that some of these synthetic dyes would be preferentially absorbed by the bacteria so that you could visualize them better on microscope slides. And this gave an idea to Paul Ehrlich. What about incorporating some toxic substance into the dye to kill bacteria? And thus was born Salvarsan, the first ever antibiotic. This was long before penicillin. Well, with the success of that, chemists began to test all kinds of dyes to see if they had antibacterial activity. And one of them, again developed in Germany, turned out to be much, much better than Salvarsan. It came to be called Prontosil. And it really changed the treatment of infections. Before this, there was no way to treat infections. And in Europe, it was prescribed in tablets. But in North America, children particularly prefer to take drugs in liquid form called elixir. Well, it turned out that the active ingredient in Prontosil was its breakdown product, sulfanilamide, and that could be used as a drug. But in America, they preferred liquid versions. So sulfanilamide elixir was sold. Unfortunately, this was made with a solvent called diethylene glycol that had never been tested for toxicity. 108 children died because of that. It was a sad moment in American history. But this was due to the solvent, not due to the active ingredient. So developments kept going on about sulfa drugs. And some of these turned out to be extremely useful, like the one that I told you at the beginning, sulfathiazole, which saved many, many lives of American soldiers. But eventually, in the late 1940s, these were displaced by penicillin and other antibiotics. But aniline, which was the precursor to all of these substances, still is very important today. It is still used to make synthetic dyes. It is used to make hair dyes. It is used to make plastics such as polyurethane. All because in 1836, the chemist Friedrich Runge thought that it would be a good idea to take this ugly gum, coal tar, and see what could be distilled out of it.